A little walk around, then I'll go backwards and I'll tell you how I did everything and review the lift kit and stuff. So here's where the Sportsman sits now, 34 motobosses. I got the Outkast Fab lift kit on there. It's a monster. It's woo! Good Lord. So the ground clearance is immense. I'm at 23.5 inches underneath the hitch. We go at full extension. You can see that they are a little bit shorter at full extension, but not by much. The longer cut gives you more travel. So the Warthog axles for the front of the Polarises, these 850, 1000, whatever, 550, are shorter at full compression and a little bit shorter at full extension. And that's good. That'll keep them from binding. It'll keep that near the outer end of the cup for more angle. So these axles are definitely, designed to run with the lift. Those are a little more work to install than I'd like because the cups are so big. They rub on those two upper lobes. The bottom ones are fine. You don't have to mess them. The two upper ones you got to grind off. Best thing to do is take the whole knuckle off, put it in a vise, and grind away. I use a Derma tool because I can't find my freaking burr. All right, so here's an axle comparison. This is the stock axle. This is a $70 Eastlake axle, and this is a $200 Warthog axle. You can see that the stock and the Eastlake look pretty similar. The Warthog is a totally different story. It's huge. Outer cup, way bigger, and it's double plunging, so the axle shaft slides in and out of the star. Good for angle, but the inner cup is a normal cup. A lot of these axles have what looks like two outers, right? So that's interesting, and it's just huge. See how deep this cup is, though? Super long travel, which could be a good thing, could be a bad thing, because if the axle is real deep inside this cup, it'll bind up right here. But because this is double plunging, that should prevent that. But let's do a length comparison for you. It's a stock axle fully compressed, and there's the Warthog. But if you actually compress the Warthog down all the way, which actually takes a good bit of force, it's actually shorter. And that fell over. You find a better way to do this. But moral of the story is the Warthog is shorter at full compression and significantly longer at full extension. And that's full extension. So pretty much what you'd expect. Double plunging axle can have more travel, so it's both shorter and longer. And what that means is it lets you run a wider variety of lifts and angles. Looks like the shock was here, and now it's back here, so the shock is going to be at a slight angle. That's how they keep it from hitting the axle with a 2-inch rake. But welds are beautiful. Fitment's pretty good. Yep, those are the axles in there. You can see that's where they want to be, but they have to come way back here because of the rake. So, yep, but so far so good on the installation. The side is complete, and I am really excited about how high it looks. Look at that angle. So the reason that angle is so high is because of the lift built into the lower arm, but also because of these longer shocks. These longer shocks, the springs are a little wonky on them. They're kind of like door rate looking, very old school, but they clear all the arms fine. And look at that angle. Oh my goodness. I'll tell you what the angle is in a minute when I put the gauge on there, but golly. Got one of these little mini digital angle things. So it's all on there. I'm going to give you a few tips. So the first tip, this is very important. These nuts up here, you can barely see it. The upper control arm bolt and nut is a different thread pitch than all the other bolts you're going to mess with. All the other ones are 10 by 1.5. It's 10 by 1.25. So it's a fine thread pitch up here. So if you mix up your nuts, you'll destroy the bolts. Yep, pro tip there. Also, as you can see, this piece isn't really straight anymore. I had to bend it out a little bit. You see a little bend right there? To get it to fit over the knuckle with the new bushings. That's the only way in which this kit hasn't been a perfect fit. Not really a big complaint. Little hammering, no big deal. Also, because the shock ends up getting raked back an inch and a half or so, it makes it easiest to put the bottom bolt in, then the top bolt. That'll save you a lot of heartache because if you put the top bolt in first, the bottom won't really line up. But other than that, pretty easy install. Really happy with the look. And if you're wondering what those axle angles are, yeah, 41.5 degrees at full down travel. So that's quite a lot of angle, but I have full confidence that the whatever these axles are called, Honey Badger? No, oh, Warthog. Yeah, Warthog axles. Yeah, that's the one. Also, you can see that it's barely clearing the snorkel right here. It was worse. I had to put a 1-inch spacer on there. The combination of the wider tire, the longer shocks, and the different lift makes the knuckles swing in a lot when you're up that high, so at full down travel it'll rub almost. But 1-inch wheel spacers did the trick, and it's still not too wide. It still have pretty good fender coverage. The only thing I have left to do to this thing is put the DynoJet Power Vision tuner on there and mess with all those settings, tune it properly for my pipe, and I need to put the front bumper on it, and I need to put the primary clutch spring to make it hit a little harder off launch. But other than that, it's about how I want it. It's got excellent ground clearance, excellent power, still rides really well. The back's pretty stiff right now, but like I said, these shocks are going to go. They're just too long. Whoever pointed out to me that you can run the 09 shocks, thank you. That's a good tip. I wanted to try them out, but they're a little too much if you're already running the 3-inch lift. Here's like an eye level walk around, and then we'll do a medium level walk around, and then we'll do a low level walk around. Oh yeah. Let me get one of the stabilized cameras. Boom, there you have it. Commented that I'm an idiot for saying this bike weighs 1,000 pounds. Stock, dry, it weighs 940 roughly. This has giant tires on it, lift kit, heavier axles, etc., etc. This is with actually an empty tank of gas. The front of the bike weighs right at 500 pounds. So let me show you what the rear of the bike weighs. There's the rear of the bike. Just shy, probably like 480 pounds. So if anything, according to this, I'm maybe 20 pounds shy of 1,000 pounds. Nearest makes no difference 1,000 pounds. So shut your mouth. Also, empty tank of gas. Also, the scale tends to read a little bit low until you get to about 1,000 pounds, which is what it's calibrated for. So the bike is very nearly 1,000 pounds. Yeah, it's heavy. But guess what? If I got the Rubicon over here and weighed it, it's like 890 pounds because most of the weight of these bikes are the tires you put on them. Which is why the highlifter is so heavy, because it comes with mud tires from the factory. Ooh, ah. Polaris doesn't lie nearly as much as Can-Am does, though. Their weight estimate's actually really close. Got the wheels on. You can see the axle angles are pretty steep, but all that really is the 2-inch lifts, right? So that shock is a stock length shock. It's a little bit more travel, but it's not really contributing to the down travel. It looks steeper than it was before because I took off the limiting straps. But when you steer this thing, you can really tell that those CVs are pushing the wheel around. So we'll hold one wheel and spin the other one for you. And there's a little bit of resistance. It's better than it was with stock axles. So the Warthogs are definitely putting less bind on the diff, but there's still a little bit of bind. And the knuckle still kind of wants to wobble around a little bit. This might just be a break-in issue. Once they break in, this might go away completely. But you can see when you move them, they move together almost completely. And the way this Hiller differential works, one should be able to freewheel without turning the other one. So I don't know if I'm going to end up needing to find a way to put a limiting strap with these or what. But overall, really nice axles, really nice boots, really nice boot bands. I like the ones that have a little spring in them like that. That's what you get on a factory Honda boot, so that's good. You can see how tight it is for this axle to fit in there. I did get my longer rear shocks in, so this is the Segget rear shock I'm swapping on here. The first one was off like a 2016 Scrambler 850 or something like that. They're all the same. Now I'm swapping on shocks off of a 2009 Sportsman, and the reason for that is it's a little longer. I'll show you that. Rear shock off the 2009 versus the rear shock that came stock on the highlifter. The shock I have on the back now is the same length as the highlifter stock shock. So it looks like about maybe 3/4 of an inch, which doesn't sound like much, but 3/4 of an inch in the middle of the A-arm, by the time you get to the wheel, is a lot more than that. Let me show you what I'm talking about with that. So it's just simple trigonometry, geometry, whatever. If you move this point down 1 inch, right, that moves this down a certain angle. This is farther out. So that if you move that down 1 inch, this is going to go down about 2 inches, right, because that's in the middle. It's not exactly how it works, and it depends on the angle, and you've got to do some math. But anyways, the point of it is, this is not a 2-inch difference from here to here, but it makes more than a 2-inch difference from here to here, which is why like a 1-inch spring spacer will often give you 2 inches of lift, for instance. So that 3/4 of an inch is actually very significant on the back.